Let's go. Let's go to space. Hello and welcome everybody to Fridays with Above. Today is September 8th, 2023. I am Tim Alatorre, Chief Operating Officer and one of the co-founders of this fantastic company. Thanks for being here today and joining us for our update. Lots of stuff to go over and looking forward to your questions at the end. That's really what the primary point of these calls is, to get your questions and provide some live dialogue with our fantastic investors. So thanks for everybody for being here today. First up, updates on hardware progress. So we have been hard at work on our two defense contracts. One is actually concluded. We've wrapped that up. And the second one is still ongoing. We are hard at work on that. Right here, this image here is us installing a gravity offset device in our facility. I guess it's been about 2 weeks now. We were in the facility doing gravity offset tests and a lot of calibration and measurements. And our facility is just big enough. We have about 6 inches of clearance, 3 inches on either side of the hardware, but we got it to fit. And it's been a lot of fun, literally getting our hands dirty, but also it's always great moving from drawings and concepts to hardware and testing and development. So much more to do on this contract. The conclusion of this contract will be sometime next year. We have more hardware on its way to the facility and more tests to be happening later this year. And things are moving along quite well on that. We're a little bit ahead of schedule and everything is on budget, which I think is always critical on these sorts of R&D projects. Also upcoming later this month, I will be in Marbella, Spain, again for the Space and Underwater Tourism Symposium. I was there last year. This is a picture of me presenting last year. And I'll be presenting again. So that will be on September 26th. And the presentation time right now is tentatively 7 a.m. U.S. Central Time, 2 p.m. Central European Time. If you're interested in participating in this symposium, it's a 3-day event. First day is in person for select attendees and invitees, I guess. Everybody else will be attending virtually, and then the next 2 days are virtual. So I'll be there on the first day, the in-person piece. But you can register. I think it's like 25 euros at sutusummit.com. We also have a couple of virtual passes that we'll be giving out to some lucky selectees. We're determining how we want to pass those out. But at this event, I will be giving an update on Pioneer and Voyager stations specifically and talking about what we're doing to move that development forward, our efforts in safety, and also just the overall hardware development. I can say just kind of a teaser for that event. I know it seems like we're distracted and all these other little things, but everything is focused with an eye on these larger stations. So everything feeds forward. We're always looking at what are the intersections between what we're doing today and how we want to get to Pioneer and Voyager and large stations. And we continue to work on the relationships with our vendors and our suppliers for these stations. So this last number of months, and really this last year, we've continued to refine our designs and engineering specs, working with key vendors and refining our timeframes and pricing schedules on those. And there's actually been quite a bit of interest recently in Pioneer Station from commercial customers. So we're actively exploring those relationships and contracts, and I can't announce anything yet, but things are still moving forward. One of the questions we get is, what's the time frame on all this? We've been ready to go on Pioneer for some time now. We are a commercially driven company, so everything has to be in response to the market, and we are, getting the message out there, building that conversation. And we are getting some traction on Pioneer Station in particular from a commercial standpoint. So that's all very exciting. But in Spain, I'll be talking more about the development and design side of things. We continue to work with NASA. We've got a multi-year agreement with them. So unless we do something really wrong, I will continue to say we're continuing to work with NASA. We were over there this just a couple weeks ago. Again, we're working on the next round of tests for Project IOTA, and also another project titled Chimera, which we're working on getting access to their large vacuum chambers. And the next round of flat floor testing should be coming up here within the next couple months. And so that, again, proving out our propulsion and avionics platforms for our spacecraft. And it's just always fun to go hang out at NASA. There's so much history, and the people there are just fantastic. They're nice and very supportive. And they're excited about what we're doing too, which is great, because they share with us what they know, we share with them what we're doing, and there's just kind of this feedback of we're helping them and they're helping us. It's a wonderful collaborative environment over at Marshall. You may have noticed not much has changed on the Silicon Prairie platform. We have been working really hard with Silicon Prairie, who they are providing the transfer agent services to get all of the records from NetCapital and the share warrants recorded. So you should have gotten an email from me within the last couple of weeks, specifically about the share warrants. This email went out, just notification of, hey, here's the warrants that we're anticipating being recorded for you. And if you can get back to me as quickly as possible with any comments. There have been still a number of mapping errors with the way that our spreadsheets transfer data into the emails, and I gave it 2 goes. We weren't going to send to the third one to fix, some errors that were still propagating. So most of you have been really good about responding back to me and saying, "Hey, this is the error," and I'd say with one exception, everything was correct in our database. And some of the things that we're running into where there's complications are when you didn't use the same email address on the NetCapital platform as you did on the Silicon Prairie platform, or you didn't use the same tax ID number on both platforms. So we do have a running list of investors that we are going to have to ask for additional documentation from. Silicon Prairie is handling all of that. So look for an email in the next couple of days or week from them. Everything is getting really close to being uploaded into the new platform. And if you haven't yet, make sure you open an account on Silicon Prairie. And you do that by going to invest.above.space. So go there, open an account to make everybody's life easier. Use the same email that you used with the NetCapital platform and the same tax ID number. Ideally, the same legal name as well. That'll make transferring everything easier. One thing to note, if you change your email address on NetCapital now to match what's on Silicon Prairie, that's not going to help because we have no access to what's on NetCapital. Everything's been exported. And so we're working off of the records as they existed at the end of the last NetCapital raise. So, just to give you that heads up. But that is moving forward, and everything should be uploaded within days, if not, a week or two. And then the warrants, those will also show up on your account, and you will see there the warrants recorded to your name. You'll see the actual warrant document with all the terms and conditions and all the legal, stuff that we're required to put out there. And then exercising of warrants. The plan is for you to be able to exercise those warrants directly in the Silicon Prairie platform. So if you've already got your financial information linked, exercising warrants would be hopefully very simple. And this is a new feature that Silicon Prairie is building out for us. They haven't done warrants on their platform before. So there is some coding and development that's happening concurrent with all this, which is another part of why this is taking a little longer. But the team there is fantastic. It's nothing that's beyond their capabilities. We just want to make sure it's right and accurate, and appreciate your patience on that. Also, exciting news, I guess, definitely exciting for us. We have 2 upcoming space flights planned for 2024. The first one is a mission to the ISS that is planned for launch in March, and we're taking with us several customers that we are facilitating their missions on ISS. That one is very far along. The hardware that we're sending up is actually due at the end of this month. So everything is advancing very quickly on that. And as I mentioned, that flight is planned for March. And that's an interesting mission in that we will be getting that hardware back. So it'll be up on ISS for about 6 months, and then it should be returned back to us. So I can't go into details on what we're doing with that mission, but I can say that it is advancing both what we're doing with the Department of Defense and also eventual kind of next gen work for Voyager station. So very excited for that. And then we also have another mission planned for 2024, which I can't talk about at all at this point, but we will be talking about that in more detail very soon. But I just want to let you know that, we are moving from ground prototypes to space. That's where we're at, and 2024 is going to be the year of doing things in space. So that second mission, which I can't talk about much, is building on what we've been doing with the flat floor. And for a couple of investors who were invited to that flat floor test, they kind of got a sneak peek behind the curtain of what we're doing with that. And that's going to be a really exciting mission. And along with that mission, that second one, anybody who's qualified for having your name engraved on our spacecraft, and that has kind of shifted. Initially, it was we're going to engrave your name on Pioneer. Then we said a gravity ring. Your name will be on this flight and still on Pioneer. We're still going to have your names on Pioneer. Don't worry about that. But we're going to put your names up engraved on this flight, the second one that I can't say much about. And we'll document that, and there'll be other opportunities for you to participate in that mission as well. One of the things with the second mission, we're really there's a number of things we're trying to prove out from a technological standpoint. We have customers that we're providing services for in that mission, and we also want to make, again, space accessible to everybody. So we are working on a couple of creative things to allow you to participate in that and to have a bit of space. Actually, the ISS mission as well. There's another component to that which we'll be releasing details on soon, where you can participate in that as well. So again, it's not just about us; it's about you, and we're trying to make space more accessible to everybody in the ways that we're able to right now, and continue to build from there. Okay, Matt, we'll open it up to questions. Let's see here. We got, just looking through chat here, we got people from all over the place. Thanks for tuning in. Looks like we got someone from Denmark. Michael, thanks for being here. Illinois, California, Oregon, Florida, all over the place. Let's see here. Jamie, hi back to you. Up in Michigan. Randy, yes, yay, space flights. Absolutely, very excited about that. Jason asked, how much have I missed? Well, if you tuned in 3 minutes ago, quite a bit, but you can go back. This is being recorded right now. I think you might be able to scrub backwards in the player now. If not, when this recording ends, just refresh this page and you should be able to start over from the top. Let's see here. Jamie says, when our hardware gets launched, will there be a launch party, preferably at the launch site? So the first flight, the ISS flight, that will be flying on a Falcon 9. I don't think we're going to be doing, I don't know. I don't want to say anything about that one. We haven't discussed doing a launch party for that one, but I'll propose it to the team. Maybe we'll do something. For the second flight, yes, there'll definitely be a launch party, and there will be ways for some of you to participate in that, if not just virtually, but in person as well at the launch location, which I can't say who that is yet, but it will necessitate some travel. I'll just say that. Let's see here. Vincent says, "Oh, I guess I could. I forgot. I can put up your comments here." Okay. Vincent's asking, does the increasing pressure to deorbit the ISS in 2030 have any impact to Above Space's plans? No. Well, if anything, it's a positive impact, because there's going to be a void, a vacuum for on-orbit services. So in that sense, yes, the the decommissioning, or it's really NASA backing out of ISS. Um, I right now I don't believe that they're going to deorbit the station. They might deorbit parts of it, but I don't think it's going to be totally scrapped. But NASA definitely wants out of ISS by 2030, and so that does open up a pressure to fill that space. And I think something that a lot of people don't realize is ISS right now has very limited space for commercial applications. When you look at the entirety of ISS, and I don't have this at the ready. Otherwise, I'd pull it up. I've got a slide somewhere, and by the time I find it, this call will be done. But I've got a slide that shows how much of ISS is actually pressurized, how much of that pressurized space is available to the United States and our allies to use, and then how much of that space is available for commercial interests. And it is a very tiny amount. It takes right now a tremendous amount of time to get anything on ISS, and it's incredibly expensive. So right now there is definitely a need for more space in space. But I think with the decommissioning and handing off of ISS, the public is going to be more aware of the fact that there's a void, and that'll put some commercial pressure on companies like ours to actually get things in orbit. So I think that's a good thing. There's nothing in our development roadmap that necessitates ISS. This flight that we're doing in March is really one of opportunity. We were able to acquire space to fly to ISS, and so then we were able to accelerate some of the things that we were planning to do on our own platforms later. So it was, kind of serendipitous. But there's nothing in our timeline that necessitates that. Yeah. So I think I covered that. Jared's asking what rocket we launch on. The one in March is a Falcon. Oh, well, the first mission is in March. I don't think I said that earlier. Or no, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah. So that one in March is on Falcon, and then the one later in the year, I can't say yet. And primarily because we want to have the deposit down before we say anything. The one in March is secured, contract signed. That's going. Let's see. Scott's asking a bunch of questions. Let's see. One, what's the status of transfer net capital records to Silicon Prairie? So I did address that earlier, but we are in process. Everything is moving along as quickly as we can. The records right now are being validated and matched with the people who've already registered in Silicon Prairie. I just got an update from the transfer agent this morning. They are trying to get that up as quickly as possible. Days, if not weeks at the most. Two, what's the mechanism, or what's the status of the mechanism for exercising shares? So that I also talked about briefly earlier, but I'll just recap. So Silicon Prairie already has the mechanism for you to transfer funds, sign agreements, and record transactions on their platform. So they're just expanding that to be able to automate the warrant exercising process. And I think what the current plan right now is that will be done in blocks of 100 shares, or fractions of that, depending on how many warrants you have. And so you can go into the platform, say, hey, I want to exercise, 100, 200, or, purchase 500 shares with my warrants. And then they already have your financial information there. So you authorize the payment or whatever you did previously to purchase shares on their platform. And then you'd sign, the digital document, and then those warrants then on the platform show as being no longer warrants, but now actual shares. And will stock certificates be issued or remain digital only? Unfortunately, they'll remain digital only. We did look into actually issuing paper stock certificates, but the costs and logistics of that really are beyond what we feel is reasonable. And it's not like, per certificate, it's not a lot, but when you have thousands of shareholders and certificates and transactions, it becomes quite a bit. So digital, yeah, but you can print off your digital certificate if you want. Are there plans to take the company public and be listed on any exchange? Thank you. I can't speculate or answer that question without getting into trouble, so I'm going to skip that one. Okay, Mark's from Texas. Let's see. Jamie says, oh, he's having internet problems. Sorry, Jamie. Mark says, will the second mission ever be revealed, or is it completely secret? Yes, we definitely will reveal the details on that. We want it to be public, but at the right time. And so there's a couple of business, technology, and market factors that play into that. Let's see. Yeah, Mark's asking what to do if my emails changed from a while back. That's actually happened for a lot of people. There's a number of people who invested in Silicon Prairie who had different email addresses from when they invested in Net Capital. I mean, it's fine. If you can use the same email address, fantastic. If not, that just means we have to go through additional steps to try to match things up and verify everything. But for the most part, for most investors, we're seeing matching tax ID numbers, matching names, matching physical addresses, matching email addresses, matching legal names, right? I mean, a deal, all those things match. And then when they don't match, then there's just some additional verification that will happen. Let's see here. Mari's asking, are warrants to be issued on Silicon Prairie or just on the Net Capital Raise 1 and 2? So only the investments on the first Net Capital raises were considered in eligibility for the warrants, but the warrants will be recorded on the Net Cap, or I must say it wrong. The warrants will be recorded on the Silicon Prairie platform. We are not doing anything further with Net Capital. Everything's moving over to Silicon Prairie. Hopefully I answered that question. I didn't muddle it enough or too much. Jason's asking, will Above Space be planning to reopen shares to allow people to purchase more? So again, I can't answer that question, but follow us on social media, monitor invest.above.space. We do have a placeholder kind of testing the waters page there right now. If you're interested in purchasing, go ahead and put on there a pledge of, or it's completely non-committal. You can just say, hey, I'm interested in purchasing X number of shares when it opens up again, or investing so much money. It's just by dollar amount. And then you will get a notification when and if another raise opens up. So Paul's asking, I believe the cost of launching mass orbit has been quickly decreasing. How has this changed your plans? So we have been following this closely. I mean, really the entire reason why we had the audacity in the beginning to say we could build space stations is because the price to get things to orbit was dropping. And so, yes, every little piece of incremental progress in lowering launch costs, I wouldn't say changes our plans, but allows us to get there quicker and sooner. It makes the barrier to entry for our customers lower, right? Again, ultimately, we're a commercial company. We're providing platforms and services to our customers. So yes, that's definitely a factor. This year, like in the 2023 timeframe, as we're going out and looking for quotes for rocket launches, really SpaceX is kind of in a price point of its own, right? I mean, they are like 50 to 30% the cost of their competition. But there's benefits in some cases of going with a different launch provider. Right now, SpaceX is the only company taking people to the International Space Station. So they're kind of for our launch in March, that's the option. But for the other things we're doing, there are different launch providers. There's a lot of things on the ecosystem, a lot of companies doing innovative things right now. And so there are advantages to maybe paying a little bit more, but to getting some different services and capabilities. But right now, I think what we're seeing not only is the cost coming down, but the number of launches and the availability of payload to orbit is increasing dramatically. SpaceX, I think, just passed their milestone of they've now launched as many launches as they did last year, and I think as of like March or April of this year, they had launched as much as all their competition in 2022 combined. So, with SpaceX launching more, that frees up the market and makes space available for other companies to do things like us. Okay, Jeff's got a good question here. Let's address this. He says, for a while, you were the only company I had heard about that had plans for an artificial gravity station. However, I hear there are a few others now. How far along are your plans compared to theirs? So, yes, there are other companies that have been talking about this. And interestingly, NASA is talking about it again as well. And we've been pounding the pavement on this and preaching the need for artificial gravity for about 5 years now. We knew other companies would come on board. It makes sense if we want to have large numbers of people in orbit. We need artificial gravity. So, uh, yeah, I mean that was inevitable. We knew that was coming. We do feel that we have a technological lead on the other companies. Um, I don't want to give necessarily a time frame on it because right now other entities have different resources than we have, and so when that gap closes is kind of is hard to say. We do what we can to do our market research and understand what our competition is doing, but there's only so much that we're aware of. We do feel that we have a lead, and we want to keep it. I'll say that we are working very hard to keep that lead. Randy's asking, how would you describe the relationship between Above and Axiom? More competitive, symbiotic, etc. I don't believe Axiom has artificial gravity. Will they be filling the void from ISS? So yeah, Axiom's business development plan right now is to build out on ISS and then eventually detach from ISS. I think they would ideally like to take everything that NASA doesn't want and just move it onto their station, including modules, solar panels, racks, you name it. So our relationship with Axiom, yeah, it probably all of those. I think in some ways it's competitive. In some ways it's symbiotic. We have very good relationships with a number of people at Axiom. Had some fantastic conversations, gone out and had dinner, and we see them at events and been on panels together. I don't think there's any sort of animosity or hard feelings there. Axiom's really putting a lot of effort right now into their human program. Finding people who want to go to ISS and training them and getting them to space, specifically focusing on foreign governments. So there's those are services that we like. They're also some of the conversations we've had. They're interested in some of our structures and the way we're able to build things. So there's some back and forth there. There's no agreements in place right now with them. Right now, it's just been conversations and exploring potential. But one of the things I guess in the competitive space is both of us are using a lot of the same vendors for hardware. So who gets our parts first? I guess that's a competitive piece. Let's see here. David's asked, will there be a chance you might use the new Canadian spaceport in Nova Scotia, maritime launch services? Yeah, absolutely. There's a chance. We aren't ruling anything out. For our second mission next year, we've been looking at everything. And I think right now it doesn't work for us, but it might in the future. Let's see. Simon, I think this is more of a statement than a question. You're saying Marshall offered a flat floor robotics lab to Above Space that provides the opportunity for testing on a cushion of air that offers practically no friction, which is deemed an analog for space exploration. Recently, Above Space used the lab to test a variety of its own technology to ensure that it's partial gravity system. So I'm not sure where you're getting the information from. Just a couple of corrections. Our agreement with Marshall is actually what's termed an umbrella space act. So we have, in theory, access to everything at Marshall, not just the flat floor robotics lab. The first thing we took advantage of was the flat floor robotics lab, but the test later this year, we're looking into using their large thermal vacuum chambers and going back to the flat floor. It's a cool place to be. And you're right, it does use air, what they call air bearings, both on the floor itself to get translation, and then also there's spherical bearings so you can get 5 axis, 5 degrees of freedom, and do tests that are analogous to operating in the space environment. And I would say The friction is very low. The biggest friction we get is just from the atmosphere itself. We're not operating in a vacuum. And so there are air currents in the facility. They have to keep the floor the right consistency, because it's a epoxy resin that is semi-fluid. And so they have to keep it at just the right temperature within like 4 degrees margin. So they're moving a lot of air through that space, and that's probably our biggest challenge. If we float something on the floor, just the air movement in the facility, we gain some acceleration in one direction. But yeah, beyond that, and then air drag as well. So in our testing, we do what we can to reduce the surface area of the things we're testing, just to minimize air drag. But apart from that, the purpose for our last test and these upcoming tests are really to test our propulsion, avionics, and control systems, so our algorithms and our software. And then Tom Spilker, Dr. Spilker, he designed a coal gas thruster, and so we tested that in our facility in Huntsville, and then we benchtop testing, and then we took it to the flat floor to do flight testing, as it were, to actually fly the thing around. And then yes, we did in our last test create artificial gravity, which is pretty cool. Let's see. Jarrett's saying he wants to put his name in the hat when we start hiring and training space construction workers. So that might be a while, Jarrett. We are trying to do everything, or at least in space construction, through robotics or teleoperated spacecraft. But we will need people to build out the interiors and to install stuff. So no spacewalks unless unless things really go wrong. Simon is asking, what's the next major milestone? Oh, and we are out of time. You guys have a lot of good questions today. We'll go a little longer. I'm getting buzzed saying I'm late for my end of the meeting, but we'll go a little longer just so I can get to some of these. Simon is asking, what's the next major milestone? So next major milestone are these two. Well, I would say the second space flight we're doing next year. That will be a significant milestone. There's other milestones in between there, but I'd say that's the big one. Russ is asking, where in independent media are there write-ups featuring above that I can show other interested parties? Our PR person, I'm not sure what you call him, director, Andy Haven, who handles all of our public relations and media relations, he has sent me a list of, hey, here's some great articles to talk about above, and I'm supposed to put them up on our website so you guys can see them. So Russ, thanks for the reminder. I will do that. And I'll just send out an email once I get those up there. Scott's asking, Tim, do you plan to go into space anytime on any mission? If you are, then I volunteer to ride shotgun. Yes, I absolutely plan on going up. The whole reason I, helped co-found a space company is so I could go to space. But I don't know if we can get you shotgun on the first one, Scott, but definitely want to get you up there. Randy already called shotgun first. You guys are starting to sound like my kids. We'll have to come up with a different method. Let's see. Well, okay. So Randy, Scott is putting in some more qualifications, having served in submarines. So you're gonna have to compete with that. Let's put that out there. Okay. Well, fantastic questions, everybody. Really appreciate you joining today. I am really excited about the progress we made this last year. Just things are really moving at an accelerated pace. Rhonda and I were just talking about how little sleep and very few weekends we get, but it is a fun time. And this next year with these 2 spaceflight missions and wrapping up the defense, the second defense contract, hopefully we'll have more as follow-alongs. But just a lot of fun things happening. So thank you for your support and being part of this. We are still committed to providing more space in space and making space available for everybody. That means you, Scott, Randy, and everybody else on this call. We want you to be a part of this. So thank you for your contributions, and I'll talk to you later.